You ever stumble upon something so unexpected and kind that it leaves a lasting impact? That's exactly what happened to me at a small bed and breakfast. This story isn't just about a place to stay. It's about a gift that changed my outlook on everything. A few months ago, I had a work trip planned to a quiet town a few hours away. You know how it is with business travel. Usually it's the same big hotels, the same routine. But this time, I wanted something different. While browsing online, I came across a charming little bed and breakfast tucked away from the hustle and bustle. The pictures showed a cozy old house surrounded by flowers, and the reviews were glowing, mentioning how the owners made guests feel like family. That's what sold me. When I arrived, it was even more charming in person. The house had that timeless look, like something out of a storybook. As I parked and walked up the garden path, the smell of freshly baked bread hit me. You know that smell that instantly makes you feel at home? That was it. Mrs. Harper, the owner, opened the door with the kind of smile that immediately makes you feel like you've known her for years. "Welcome, dear," she said, handing me a big brass room key with a little ribbon tied to it. I couldn't help but feel like I'd walked into a different world, one where time slowed down and people actually cared about the little things. My room was perfect, small but cozy, with handmade quilts on the bed and a window overlooking the garden. And sitting on the desk was a basket of freshly baked cookies with a handwritten note that said, "Welcome, enjoy your stay." I didn't think much of it then, just thought it was a nice touch. But little did I know, the kindness wasn't going to stop there. After a long day of meetings, I came back to the bed and breakfast exhausted. As I walked into the dining area for dinner, I noticed a small package on one of the tables. My name written on it in neat cursive. Confused, I picked it up. Inside was a beautifully crafted leather notebook with my initials embossed on the front. There was also a note. "Dear guest, we hope this helps you find some peace and creativity during your stay. With warm regards, Mrs. Harper." I was shocked. I hadn't told anyone that I love writing. In fact, I hadn't been able to write in months because of how stressed I had been. It was like they knew exactly what I needed without me saying a word. When I saw Mrs. Harper later that evening, I couldn't help but ask, "Why the notebook? How did you know?" She smiled gently and said, "Well, you seemed a bit worn out when you arrived, and I have a knack for sensing when people need a little extra comfort. Writing helps some people clear their minds, so I thought maybe it could help you too." I was speechless. It wasn't about the notebook itself. It was the thought behind it. It was like they were offering me a chance to slow down, to take a moment for myself amidst the chaos of work and life. That night, instead of turning on the TV or scrolling through my phone like I usually do, I sat down at the desk, opened the notebook, and started writing. It felt natural, like a part of me had been waiting for this moment. I wrote about my trip, my thoughts, even random stories that popped into my head. By the time I finished, I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of birds chirping outside and the smell of bacon and eggs cooking downstairs. Breakfast at the bed and breakfast wasn't just food, it was an experience. Mrs. Harper served everything herself, always remembering how I liked my coffee, asking about my plans for the day, and genuinely listening to my answers. It wasn't the typical rushed, impersonal service you get at big hotels. Here, it was personal. And I realized that's what I'd been missing. When it was time to check out, I felt an odd sense of reluctance, like I wasn't quite ready to leave. As I handed Mrs. Harper the key, I told her how much the notebook meant to me, how it had reminded me to slow down and reconnect with myself. She smiled warmly and said, "That's what life's all about, dear. It's the small touches that make the big differences. I've stayed in countless places for work, but this bed and breakfast? It wasn't just a stop on a trip. It was a place that gave me back something I didn't even realize I had lost. And to this day, I still carry that notebook with me wherever I go, as a reminder that sometimes all you need is a small gesture to make everything better."